It is the ultimate nightmare for a man obsessed with his own legacy. Imagine spending decades preaching about the importance of the family unit, demanding to be worshipped as the patriarch, and claiming that everything you do is for the quote, big picture. You build a massive family tree, you put yourself at the root of it, and you demand absolute loyalty. But then, in the blink of an eye, you are erased. Not by a lawyer, not by a divorce decree, and not even by a bitter ex-wife. You are erased by a toddler. This is the brutal reality facing Kody Brown right now. While he sits in his $2 million fortress on the hill, obsessing over who disrespected him last, his biological granddaughter, Avalon, is growing up in a world where Kody Brown is nothing more than a stranger. The irony here is sharp enough to cut glass. Kody has spent season after season crying on national television, wiping away tears, or at least trying to squeeze one out, complaining that his children are being alienated from him. He points the finger at Christine, he blames Janelle, he even throws shade at the kids themselves. But when the cameras stop rolling, the truth paints a very different picture. Kody isn't the victim of alienation. He is the architect of his own isolation. And nothing proves this more than the heartbreaking story of a handmade Christmas gift, an ignored text message, and the total replacement of Kody by a man who actually knows what it means to be a grandfather. We are watching the real-time destruction of a narcissist's ego, and honestly, it is impossible to look away. Before we dive into the dark details of how Kody burned his final bridge, do me a quick favor. If you want to stay ahead of the sister wives drama and hear the stories the network tries to bury, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We are digging into the things they don't want you to know. Now, let's talk about the one person who actually tried to save Kody from himself. For the last few years, Mykelti has been the Switzerland of the Brown family. While the other older kids were drawing lines in the sand and calling out Kody's bad behavior, Mykelti was the one desperately trying to keep the peace. She was the bridge. She invited Kody and Robin to meet her daughter Avalon. She tried to facilitate Zoom calls. She went out of her way to make sure Kody felt included, even when the rest of the world was turning against him. You have to understand the level of patience that takes. Mykelti saw her mother Christine get treated like a basement wife for years, yet she still tried to honor her father. But here's the thing about narcissists. They don't view generosity as love. They view it as something they are owed. And this is where the story takes a turn that has fans absolutely furious. It involves a Christmas gift that should have melted any grandfather's heart. We aren't talking about a store-bought gift card or a generic toy. Mykelti put together a handmade, heartfelt scrapbook. This was a labor of love, documenting the growth of his granddaughter, Avalon. It was a silver platter opportunity for Kody. All he had to do was look at it, pick up the phone, and say, "Thank you." That's the bar. It is on the floor. So what did the great patriarch do? According to reports and what we've seen play out, he did absolutely nothing. He ignored it for weeks. Imagine the scene. Mykelti sends this thoughtful gift, waiting for a reaction, waiting for her dad to show even an ounce of interest in the next generation of his lineage. And all she got was silence. It wasn't until weeks later that Kody finally bothered to send a text acknowledging it. And let's be real, we all know Kody's texting style. It wasn't an apology. It was likely a hollow, low-effort message checked off a list so he could go back to playing victim. This brings us to a massive theory that has been circulating among insiders and fans alike. Why did he ignore it? Is he just that cruel? Or is there someone else pulling the strings? There are reports and heavy speculation suggesting that Kody's communication with the outside family is heavily filtered. Some theories claim that Robin, in her protective anxiety, manages manages the flow of information to keep Kody from getting upset or feeling unsafe. Did Kody even see the gift right away? Or was it tossed onto a pile of stuff in that hoarding house, lost amidst the precious moments figurines and boxes of unsold jewelry? There is a darker speculation here too. Some insiders suggest that Kody views gifts from the disloyal wives' children as traps. In his twisted logic, accepting a gift from Mykelti, who is close to Christine, might feel like admitting he was wrong to cut them off. If he engages with Mykelti, he has to acknowledge the reality that Christine is happy and moving on. By ignoring the gift, he protects his fragile ego. He denies them the satisfaction of his attention. It's a power move, but it's a power move that backfired spectacularly. Because while Kody was playing these mind games, ignoring a toddler's scrapbook to prove a point about loyalty, the universe was preparing a karma-filled response. Nature abhors a vacuum. If you step out of the role of grandpa, someone else is going to step in. And that is exactly what happened. The void Kody left was instantly and permanently filled by David Woolley. This is where the story shifts from sad to incredibly satisfying for everyone rooting for Christine. While Kody is sitting in his mansion, arguably stewing in his own anger, David Woolley is on the floor playing with Avalon. The visual contrast is staggering. We have seen the photos. David is there. He is present. He isn't worried about his, quote, patriarchal dignity or demanding respect before he gives love. He is just doing the work. There is a specific report floating around that really highlights this difference. It's been said that when Avalon sees David, her face lights up. She knows him. He is, quote, grandpa. Meanwhile, if Kody were to walk into the room, there is a very real chance Avalon wouldn't even recognize him. Think about the gravity of that. Kody Brown, the man who wanted his own planet in the afterlife, doesn't even have a place in his granddaughter's memory in this life. And let's talk about the nachos incident for a second, because it ties perfectly into this replacement narrative. We all remember Kody making that disgusting comment about not being attracted to Christine because of how she ate nachos. It was cruel, it was superficial, and it was meant to humiliate her. Fast forward to David Woolley. What does he do? He embraces the nachos. He posts pictures eating nachos with Christine. It seems small, but it sends a massive signal. It says, I love this woman and this family exactly as they are. Kody wanted props. David wanted a family. This transition of power from Kody to David isn't just emotional. It's a direct hit to Kody's narrative. Kody's entire brand is built on being the head of the household. But a head without a body is just a monster. By ignoring Mykelti, Kody cut the last lifeline he had to the original family. Mykelti was the one saying, hey, dad is still okay. Let's give him a chance. When he snubbed her gift, rumors suggest something snapped in Mykelti. You can only bang your head against a brick wall for so long before you realize the wall doesn't care. There is chatter surfacing from sources close to the family that Mykelti has effectively quietly quit her father. She hasn't made a big public announcement. She hasn't sold a tell-all interview yet, but the effort has stopped. The phone calls are fewer, the updates are shorter. She realized that protecting her child's peace meant keeping Kody at a distance. If he can't appreciate a handmade scrapbook, he certainly doesn't deserve access to the child who is in it. Let's dig deeper into the why. Why would a father do this? We have to look at the financial and environmental reality Kody is living in. We keep hearing about the poverty plea, Kody claiming he doesn't have the resources to build on Coyote Pass, or that the family money is gone. Yet, eagle-eyed viewers and internet sleuths have spotted thousands of dollars worth of artwork on the walls of the mansion in recent clips. There are rumors that the house is filled to the brim with expensive watches, rings, and investments. This leads to the hoarding theory. It is a known psychological phenomenon that when people feel they are losing control of their relationships, they start hoarding objects. They replace people with things. Kody is losing his wives, he is losing his children, and he is losing his grandchildren. So what does he do? He buys more stuff. He surrounds himself with inanimate objects that can't talk back, can't leave him, and can't demand emotional intimacy. That handmade scrapbook from Mykelti, to Kody, it wasn't a sentimental treasure. It was just another object. And since it didn't feed his ego or come with a price tag, it held no value to him. But the stakes are getting higher. We are entering a new era of the show where Kody is no longer the protagonist or even the anti-hero. He is becoming the villain in the background. The fans are now invested in David and Christine, in Mykelti and Avalon. Kody is being written out of his own show, metaphorically speaking. And this is where the news and rumor mill goes into overdrive. There are reports swirling that Kody is furious about David's involvement. Some allege that Kody has been ranting to friends, or what's left of them, that David is stealing his family for clout. It is the ultimate projection. Kody used his family for clout for a decade. Now that a decent man has stepped in, Kody can't compute it. He can't understand why Avalon would prefer a man who sits on the floor and plays blocks over a man who sits on a throne and demands loyalty. This brings us to the most crushing realization of all. The grandfather erasure isn't something that was done to Kody. It is something Kody did to himself. He had the invite. He had the address. He had the phone number. He had the handmade gift in his hands. He chose to look away. And in that moment of looking away, he missed the whole show. Think about the holidays. We all know how big Kody goes for Christmas, or at least how big he goes for Robin's kids. We've seen mountains of gifts, expensive scooters, and absolute excess. Now contrast that with the silence Mykelti received. It sends a message that is loud and clear. You are not part of the real family. It is cruel, but it is also a tactical error, because those outsiders are the ones carrying the legacy. And what about Robin in all of this? We cannot tell this story without looking at the woman beside him. Is she the evil stepmother whispering in his ear to ignore the gift? Or is she just as trapped in his delusion as he is? There is a fascinating theory gaining traction online that Robin actually fears Kody reconnecting with the OG kids. Why? Because if Kody repairs those bridges, he might realize how much he lost. He might realize that the grass was actually greener on the other side. So the theory goes, she reinforces his anger. She validates his feelings of being a victim, ensuring that he stays angry, isolated, and entirely dependent on her. And this is where we have to talk about the trap that Kody set for himself. It is one of the most baffling contradictions in reality TV history. For years, we have watched Kody sit on that couch, red-faced and emotional, screaming about how his children have betrayed him. He has used words like stabbed in the kidneys and claimed that he is the one being pushed out. He wants us to believe that he is a martyr, a man desperate for connection, but denied it by vengeful ex-wives. But the incident with Mykelti's Christmas gift exposed that narrative as a total fraud. Think about it. Mykelti handed him the perfect opportunity on a silver platter. She didn't ask for money. She didn't ask for an apology. She didn't even ask him to leave his mansion. All she did was send him a scrapbook. A bridge, a simple, low-stakes way to say, here is your granddaughter, please be part of her life. If Kody was truly the victim of alienation, if he was truly desperate to see his family, he would have jumped at that chance. He would have been on the phone in 5 minutes. He would have been weeping with gratitude that someone still cared enough to include him. But he didn't. He ignored it. And that silence speaks louder than every single monologue monologue he has ever delivered on TLC. It proves that Kody doesn't actually want a relationship. He wants submission. He doesn't want to be a grandfather. He wants to be a king. The scrapbook wasn't an act of submission. It was an act of love, and Kody doesn't know what to do with love that doesn't come with a side of obedience. This is the trap he fell into. He can no longer claim he is being kept away because the door was open for him and he chose not to walk through it. There is a fascinating theory circulating in the deep dive communities that suggests Kody's rejection of the gift was actually a calculated punishment. Some insiders speculate that Kody believes acknowledging the OG kids' efforts without a full apology from them, for crimes they didn't commit, by the way, would show weakness. In his mind, if he accepts the scrapbook, he accepts the new status quo where Christine is happy and independent, and his ego simply cannot handle that. So he punishes Mykelti with silence. He withholds his attention because he thinks it's a currency. But here is the harsh reality check that Kody clearly missed. His attention is devalued currency. It's like trying to pay with Monopoly money. Nobody wants it anymore, especially not when there is a new figure in the picture who is offering something real. We have to talk about the credibility dilemma Kody is facing because it is destroying his reputation faster than any edit TLC could put together. Kody wants the title of Grandpa. He wants respect. He wants the photo op where he looks like the wise patriarch, but he refuses to do the off-camera work. Reports from behind the scenes suggest that Kody's idea of grandparenting is entirely performative. It's about showing up when the cameras are rolling, making a big speech, maybe tossing a kid in the air, and then retreating back to his sanctuary with Robin. There is no diaper changing. There is no sitting on the floor playing with blocks for 2 hours. There is no consistent, quiet presence. And for a toddler like Avalon, presence is everything. Toddlers don't care about your legacy. They don't care about your big picture. They care about who is there. And this is where David Woolley enters the chat and absolutely destroys Kody's standing without saying a single bad word. The contrast is humiliating for Kody. While Kody is busy making excuses about why he can't travel or why he can't visit because of COVID protocols that ended years ago, David is simply there. There have been photos surfacing of David doing the mundane, unglamorous work of being a grandparent. He is carrying the bags, he is pushing the stroller, he is holding Avalon's hand while she walks. There is a massive rumor, and again, take this with a grain of salt, but it makes a lot of sense, that the producers at TLC are absolutely loving this dynamic. It's been said that they are intentionally highlighting David's involvement to showcase just how absent Kody has become. Every time we see David being a natural, loving grandfather, it is a subtle dig at Kody. It's the editor saying, look at what is possible when you aren't obsessed with yourself. And the stakes are escalating. This isn't just about hurt feelings anymore. It's about financial and professional survival. Kody Brown is a reality TV star. His livelihood depends on him being interesting and, more importantly, being part of the family dynamic. But he is being written out of his own bloodline. If Avalon doesn't know who he is and Mykelti stops trying and the other kids have already cut contact, what is left for Kody to film? Is season 20 just going to be Kody and Robin sitting in their mansion staring at their expensive art? Speaking of that mansion, let's dive into the financial hypocrisy that has fans raging. Kody constantly pleads poverty. He talks about how the family doesn't have the money to pay off Coyote Pass. He talks about needing to be careful with resources. Yet the background of his video calls and the glimpses we get inside his home home tell a very different story. We are seeing what look like David Yurman jewelry pieces, expensive watches, and walls covered in high-end artwork. There is a theory called the asset hiding theory. Speculation is rampant that Kody and Robyn are funneling family funds into tangible assets, art, jewelry, precious metals, things that are harder to track and split in a divorce settlement, or things that they can claim are investments. While Janelle was living in a trailer trying to build a future, Kody was allegedly buying 5-figure paintings. This connects back to the scrapbook. He couldn't afford the time or emotional energy to acknowledge a gift, but he can certainly afford to curate a museum of clutter in his home. The hoarding house narrative is gaining traction, and it paints a disturbing picture of Kody's mental state. Insiders have hinted that the mansion is becoming difficult to film in because of the sheer amount of stuff. Boxes piled high, collections of things that serve no purpose. It's a physical manifestation of his internal chaos. He is filling the void left by his family with things. And the tragic part, those things will never love him back. A painting won't visit him in a nursing home. A Rolex won't hold his hand. But let's get back to Mykelti for a second, because her role in this is pivotal. She was the last holdout, the last one of the original kids who really tried to make it work. When she sent that scrapbook, it was a test, and Kody failed it. But what happened next is the real kicker. Mykelti didn't throw a tantrum. She didn't go on a public rampage. She just stopped. There is a concept in psychology called extinction. When a behavior is no longer reinforced, it eventually stops. Mykelti realized that her efforts were falling into a black hole. And so she directed that energy elsewhere. She directed it toward David. Seeing Avalon embrace David must have been the final nail in the coffin for Kody's legacy. It proved that biology doesn't make a grandfather, behavior does. We have heard reports that this shift has caused massive tension between Kody and Robyn. You would think Robyn would be happy to have Kody all to herself, right? What was the goal? Maybe not. The theory is that Robyn is realizing she is now living with a man who is miserable, angry, and has no one else to blame. When the other wives were around, Kody could vent about them. He could make them the villains. Now it's just him and Robyn. And if he's miserable, she's miserable. There is also the David threat. Some insiders suggest that Kody is genuinely intimidated by David Woolley. David is a man's man. He owns a construction business. He is successful. He is quiet. He doesn't need to scream to be heard. Kody, with his erratic hair and frantic energy, looks like a chaotic child next to David's stability. And Kody knows it. That is why we likely won't see a face-to-face confrontation. Kody avoids situations where he isn't the alpha. And in a room with David Woolley, Kody is definitely not the alpha. The financial fallout of this grandfather erasure is real. If the audience connects with David and Christine and turns off Kody and Robyn, the ratings shift. And if the ratings shift, the money shifts. There is talk, again, speculative but plausible, that TLC might be looking at spinoffs that don't include Kody at all. Imagine the blow to his ego if Sister Wives continues without the husband. It's the ultimate irony. But let's look at the specific behavior that makes this so damning. It's the conditional love model. Kody has made it clear, if you want a relationship with him, you have to come to him. You have to follow his rules. You have to respect Robyn. You have to apologize. It's a list of demands. David Woolley's model is the opposite. It's unconditional presence. He goes where the family is. He eats the nachos. He plays the games. He wears silly hats. He isn't protecting an image, he is building a bond. There is a heartbreaking rumor that Avalon actually asked about Grandpa and was shown a picture of Kody and she didn't know who it was. Whether that is 100% true or just a story illustrating the distance, the emotional truth is the same. Kody is a stranger to his own blood, and he is doing nothing to change it. He is waiting for a toddler to apologize. apologize. He is waiting for a 2-year-old to show loyalty. It sounds insane when you say it out loud, but that is the level of delusion we are dealing with. And we have to touch on the victim complex regarding the holidays. Kody likely told himself that he was the one ignored at Christmas. They didn't come to my house, he probably thought. They didn't pay homage to me. He rewrites the history to make himself the martyr. But the scrapbook exists. It is physical proof that he was thought of. And his text, weeks late, cold, impersonal, is physical proof that he didn't care. You can't gaslight a scrapbook. This brings us to a critical turning point in the narrative. We are seeing the formation of 2 distinct clans. The Brown family, as we knew it, is dead. It's gone. What we have now is the Kody and Robyn Island and the United Exes. And the United Exes are thriving. They are traveling. They are laughing. They are growing. They are celebrating new life and new marriages. Kody is stuck in a time loop, reliving the same grievances from 2020. There is also a buzz about the will. This is dark, but people are talking about it. With Kody being effectively replaced and with him legally married only to Robyn, what happens to the inheritance? Does he cut the OG kids out entirely? The grandfather erasure might be a precursor to a total financial disinheritance. If he doesn't view them as his family, he won't view them as his heirs. And with the way he is hoarding assets, he might be trying to ensure that every last dime stays on his island. But here is the twist that no one saw coming. The audience doesn't care about Kody's money anymore. We care about the emotional payoff. And the emotional payoff of seeing David Woolley fill that grandfather role is worth more than any drama Kody can manufacture. It is the ultimate revenge. It's living well. It's being happy. It's showing Kody that he was never the sun the planets revolved around. He was just a cloud that finally drifted away. And don't forget the insider reports regarding the production crew. Word on the street is that the crew finds Kody increasingly difficult to work with. He is paranoid, he tries to control the narrative, and he refuses to answer the hard questions. Meanwhile, the scenes with Christine and David are light, fun, and easy. Production follows the path of least resistance. If Kody makes it hard to film him being a grandpa and David makes it easy, guess who gets the screen time? Kody is editing himself out of the show by being impossible. As we move toward the final chapter of this saga, we have to wonder, is there a point of no return? Has Kody crossed it? Most fans would say yes. The moment you ignore a toddler's gift is the moment you lose the moral high ground forever. You can argue with wives, you can argue with adult children, but you cannot argue with a toddler. A toddler is innocent. Ignoring Avalon wasn't a political move. It was a character flaw, a deep, unfixable crack in the foundation of who Kody is. So as we look at Kody sitting in that mansion, surrounded by his precious metals and his loyal wife, we have to ask, was it worth it? He kept his pride, he kept his rules, he kept his patriarchy, but he lost the scrapbook. He lost the smile of his granddaughter, and he lost the chance to be the man he spent 18 seasons pretending to be. This brings us to the darkest realization of Kody Brown's entire existence. A reality check that is hitting him harder than any divorce paper ever could. It is the isolation. We need to talk about what life actually looks like inside that McMansion now that the dust has settled. Kody isn't just estranged from his family. He is effectively haunting his own house. The hoarding narrative we touched on earlier isn't just about physical stuff. It is about emotional clutter. Kody has filled his life with grievances, perceived slights, and old arguments. He recycles these same angry stories to Robyn day in and day out. It is an echo chamber. And in an echo chamber, you can convince yourself you are a king, but the moment you step outside, the silence is deafening. The behavioral flaw here is tragic but fascinating to watch from a psychological perspective. Kody views his children and grandchildren as props in his movie. This is the main character syndrome theory. To Kody, Mykelti isn't an autonomous human being with feelings. She is a supporting character in the Kody Brown story. When she behaves in a way that fits his script, like when she was trying to mediate between him and Christine, he engages with her. But the moment she does something that challenges his narrative, or the moment she asks for effortless love without strings attached, she is written out of the scene. The scrapbook she sent wasn't part of Kody's script. It was a reality check from the outside world, a world where he is failing. So he cut the scene. He ignored it. But here is where the failed emotional appeal comes into play, and it destroys his credibility forever. We have watched Kody cry real tears, or at least scrunch his face up enough to simulate them, about how much he misses his family. He looked into the camera and said, "I just want my family back." But those tears are fraudulent. They are a performance. Because when the cameras were off and a handmade olive branch arrived in the mail, he didn't weep with gratitude. He didn't rush to the phone. He didn't drive over to see his granddaughter. He did nothing. That inaction proves that his televised grief is a lie. He doesn't miss his family. He misses the control he had over them. He misses the audience they provided for his ego. And let's look at the David difference one last time, because it is the nail in the coffin. David Woolley didn't just step into the role of grandfather. He redefined it. Kody thought being a grandpa was a title you inherited because of biology. David proved it is a job you earn through consistency. There are rumors swirling that Kody is legally exploring his rights regarding the grandchildren, possibly trying to force visitation. But legal experts and insiders suggest that without a pre-existing relationship and with a history of neglect, he has no ground to stand on. You cannot litigate love. You cannot sue for affection. And you certainly cannot convince a judge or a toddler that you deserve to be there when you ignored the one gift that mattered. The thematic hypocrisy here is stunning. Kody spent years preaching about the big picture and the celestial kingdom. He told these women that their suffering on earth was worth it for the glory of the afterlife. But look at his life now. He is living in a self-imposed prison of anger. The man who screams about family unity is the one who destroyed it. He is the one who locked the doors. He is the one who set the rules that made it impossible for his children to stay. Mykelti didn't leave because she stopped loving him. She stopped trying because she realized her love was being thrown into a void. She had to protect Avalon from that rejection. Imagine explaining to a 5-year-old why grandpa never calls. It is easier to just let grandpa fade away. This leads us to the erasure. It is already happening. We are seeing it in real time. In the latest season updates and social media posts, Kody is absent. He is not in the birthday photos. He is not in the holiday reels. He is not in the graduation selfies. He is becoming a ghost in his own family history. Future generations of Browns, Avalon's children, and their children will look at the family tree and see a blank space where Kody should be. They will see David Woolley lifting them up, laughing, and being present. Kody will be a footnote, a cautionary tale about what happens when you prioritize your pride over your people. There is a powerful theory circulating that Kody's biggest fear isn't poverty, it is irrelevant. And by ignoring Mykelti's gift, he accelerated his own irrelevance. He handed the baton to David and said, "Here, you take them." He might as well have signed the adoption papers himself. The irony is that Kody thinks he is punishing them with his silence, but he is actually liberating them. He is setting them free to find happiness with a man who actually wants to be there. The punishment isn't for them, it is for him. He has to wake up every day in that house knowing that somewhere out there, his family is happy without him. And what about the financial karma? Yeah, we touched on the art and the jewelry, but there is a deeper layer. The show's Sister Wives was Kody's primary income source. But the audience has turned. The fans are now Team David, Team Christine, Team Janelle. Kody is the villain everyone loves to hate, but eventually people get tired of the villain. They stop watching. If the show gets canceled or if Kody is phased out, his financial empire collapses. The hoarding house will have to be sold. The expensive art will be auctioned off for pennies on the dollar. And when the money is gone and the cameras are gone, who will be left? Just Robyn. And as we have seen, a relationship built on mutual victimization doesn't tend to age well. Let's be clear about the point of no return. It wasn't the divorce. It wasn't the move to Flagstaff. It was the moment he decided that his ego was more important than a relationship with a toddler. That was the line. You can forgive a lot of things, but you cannot forgive the deliberate neglect of a child. Avalon didn't do anything to Kody. She didn't disrespect him. She didn't break his rules. She just existed, and he ignored her. That is a moral failing that Mykelti and the audience will never forget. As we wrap up this saga, consider this. Kody Brown spent 18 seasons trying to convince the world he was a leader. In the end, he proved he wasn't even a follower. He was just a roadblock. And now that the family has driven around him, they aren't looking in the rearview mirror. The grandfather erasure is complete. Kody Brown has been deleted from the narrative, replaced by a man who understands that love is a verb, not a noun. The legacy Kody obsessed over is gone, living on in the hearts of children who will never know his name. And honestly, that is exactly the ending he wrote for himself. This story is far from over, and the rumors about what happens next, especially with the financial fallout and the potential legal battles over the land, are just starting to heat up. We are keeping our ears to the ground for the latest leaks from production. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the collapse of Kody's empire and want to keep up with every twist, turn, and secret theory that the network tries to hide, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to the channel right now. Don't miss the next video. We are going to expose the real reason Robyn has been so quiet lately. And trust me, you won't believe what the insiders are saying. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.